Greetings, cozy knights. Lower your swords and rest by the fire. Tonight, we journey through the hidden secrets of Skyrim's most mysterious characters. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're listening from tonight and what games you want me to cover next. And subscribe if this helps you sleep. Isolde's Skooma Empire. The cheerful merchant wandering Whiterun's market seems innocent enough, dreaming of buying the bannered mare one day. But travel to Sleeping Tree Camp and you'll find a letter revealing Isolde's true business. She's been running skooma distribution with a deceased partner named Ulag, collecting the narcotic tree sap that grows from a crashed spaceship. The Mammoth Tusk quest is just a cover for building relationships with Khajiit caravans who help move her product. Her journal even mentions she learned the skooma trade from a Khajiit named Tonelia. If you marry Isolde, your spouse is technically a drug lord, and her sudden wealth to buy the inn likely comes from these illegal operations that span all of Skyrim's major trading routes. Lydia's bitter resentment, the famous sworn to carry your burdens, isn't just a meme. Through unused dialogue files, developers recorded Lydia expressing deep frustration about being reduced to a pack mule. She was trained as an elite warrior, pledged to protect the Thane, but instead spends her days watching you loot garbage and carry cheese wheels. Her tone shifts noticeably when you ask her to haul items versus when she's actually fighting. Some dialogue suggests she reports your activities to Jarl Balgruuf, keeping tabs on whether you're worthy of your title. Her chambers in Breezehome contain a journal where she tracks your reputation. If you're dishonorable, she writes disapproving entries. Lydia isn't just following you. She's judging every decision you make, silently documenting whether you deserve the title of Thane while carrying your stolen sweet rolls. Cicero's descent into madness. His journals in the Dawnstar Sanctuary reveal a tragic transformation. Cicero served the Dark Brotherhood in Cyrodiil during its collapse, watching members die or abandon ship one by one. For years, he was alone with only the Night Mother's corpse, talking to himself in the ruins. His last contract before fleeing to Skyrim was killing a jester, which inspired his costume. The isolation drove him mad, but there's method to it. His ramblings contain fragments of ancient Dark Brotherhood history nobody else remembers. He references techniques and rituals from the organization's golden age. His madness preserves knowledge that would otherwise be lost. When you find him, he's been the Night Mother's keeper for over a decade, and his sanity slowly cracked under the weight of that solitary duty. The laughter hides centuries of dark secrets only he still knows. Mjol's lost treasure. She claims bandits and criminals drove her from adventuring after losing her sword Grimsever. But there's more to the story. Letters found in the various dungeons reveal Mjol was hunting a specific artifact for the Thieves' Guild before she went straight. She betrayed them when she discovered the artifact would be used for a ritual. The bandits who took Grimsever weren't random. They were hired by Mercer Frey to silence her. She knows secrets about the Guild's darkest contracts and chose exile in Riften to keep an eye on their operations. When you return Grimsever, she becomes an immortal follower, not out of gratitude, but because she needs muscle to protect her from Guild retaliation. Her companion Erin isn't a friend. He's her alibi, a witness who can testify she's reformed. Mjol's cheerful stories about adventure hide a past soaked in betrayal and blood money she can never fully escape. Jazago's dangerous ambition. The Khajiit student at the college seems friendly, but his experimental scrolls reveal darker intentions. The Flamecloak scrolls he asks you to test are deliberately unstable. He's not incompetent, but testing whether you're durable enough to survive his true plans. Dialogue files suggest J'zargo wants to become the most powerful mage in Tamriel, and he's studying you, the Dragonborn, as a specimen. His questions about your Thu'um are research. Several notes in his quarters reference attempting to replicate the voice through pure magic. He sees you as either a stepping stone or competition. If you die testing his scrolls, problem solved. If you survive, he learns valuable data. His cheerful demeanor masks ruthless calculation. Every conversation is an interview, every quest a test. J'zargo believes he's destined for greatness, and he'll use anyone, including you, to achieve it. Serana's lost mortality. Beyond the obvious vampire heritage, Serana's dialogue reveals she doesn't remember becoming undead clearly. The ritual that transformed her involved sacrificing something precious to Molag Bal, and there are hints it wasn't just blood. She mentions fragments of memories that don't fit her timeline, suggesting part of her soul was bartered away. Her fear of temples isn't just vampire weakness, but trauma from the ritual itself. When she asks about marriage and children, there's deep sorrow because she knows what she gave up. Unused dialogue has her mentioning a child's name, quickly followed by, "I shouldn't remember that." The implication is horrifying. Serana may have had a daughter before becoming a vampire, and part of the deal with Molag Bal involved forgetting her. The prophecy and Elder Scroll are secondary to her personal tragedy, a lost family she can barely recall through centuries of undead existence. Sven and Feindal's darker rivalry. The love triangle in Riverwood seems petty until you dig deeper. Both men have restraining orders in solitude from past incidents. Sven was banned from the Bard's College after allegedly poisoning a rival's mead, and Feindal was caught stalking a noblewoman. Their obsession with Camilla isn't romance, but possession. Letters in Sven's house reveal he sees Camilla as property he deserves for saving Riverwood from wolves years ago. Feindal's journal mentions Camilla reminds him of someone from his past, an elf he couldn't save. Neither man loves her. They're both trying to fill voids with her life. If you help either one win, you're enabling an unhealthy obsession. The correct choice is neither. Camilla deserves better than two emotionally damaged men who view her as a prize rather than a person. The quest is designed to make you complicit in Riverwood's most toxic relationship. Erendur's murderous past. The friendly priest of Mara helping Dawnstar with nightmares has a blood-soaked history. He was Brother Casimir, a devotee of Vermina, who helped release the miasma that still plagues the town. Dialogue implies he didn't just worship Vermina. He conducted experiments on dreamers, trapping them in nightmares to extract their terror as offerings. His redemption is recent, only decades old, and he still has the skills. When you enter the Nightcaller Temple, he navigates traps with suspicious expertise. He knows where every tripwire is, every hidden switch, because he helped install them. His prayers to Mara are penance for hundreds of victims whose dreams he twisted. If you kill him at the end, you're executing a mass murderer. If you spare him, you're allowing one of Skyrim's worst serial killers to walk free in priest's robes, his crimes known only to Vermina and the screaming ghosts in his dreams. Eric the Slayer's doomed destiny. The farm boy in Rorikstead who dreams of adventure seems innocent. His father wants him to stay safe on the farm. But if you help Eric become an adventurer, you're sealing his death warrant. Named after Eric West, a Skyrim fan who died of cancer, the character honors his memory. But in-game, Eric is flagged as non-essential, meaning he can die permanently. The tragedy is intentional. His father was right to be afraid. Letters in Rorikstead mention previous adventurers from the village who died young. The town has seen too many ambitious youth leave and never return. If you take Eric with you, he's likely to fall in battle, another casualty of Skyrim's dangers. His questline is about the cost of dreams, the price of ambition. Sometimes the parent who says stay home where it's safe is the only one seeing clearly. Eric's story ends in a roadside cairn, unless you're very careful. His father's worst fears come true because a stranger encouraged impossible dreams. Adeliza Vendici's true mission. The East Empire Company representative in Windhelm seems focused on business, but she's an Imperial intelligence agent. Her trade negotiations are covers for gathering information on Ulfric's military capacity. Letters in her cabin reference meetings with Captain Aldis in Solitude, discussing troop movements and Stormcloak supply lines. Chain explosion attack on the company wasn't random. It was orchestrated to give her an excuse to investigate the docks and see what Windhelm's importing. If you help her defeat the pirates, you're assisting Imperial espionage. The reward she offers comes from a slush fund for informants. Her gratitude isn't personal. You're now tagged as a useful asset. Future contracts from the East Empire Company might seem like simple delivery jobs, but you're moving intelligence reports. Adeliza represents the Empire's shadow war, fought not with soldiers, but with merchants who carry daggers hidden in ledgers, information more valuable than gold. Ulfbert Warbear's shame. The man running War Maidens in Whiterun with his wife Adrienne seems like a simple blacksmith, but he's haunted by cowardice. During the Great War, Ulfbert was stationed at the Imperial City when it fell to the Aldmeri Dominion. He fled, abandoning his post and fellow soldiers. Letters in his workshop reference nightmares about comrades he left behind. He changed his name from his original Imperial surname to a Nordic one, trying to bury his past. His aggressive personality is overcompensation for deep shame. When he insults customers or acts tough, he's trying to convince himself he's brave. Adrienne doesn't know the full truth. She thinks his scars came from honorable battles. The guilt eats at him daily. Every sword he forges is an attempt at redemption, arming warriors to fight battles he ran from. His story is a reminder that Skyrim's NPCs carry invisible wounds, histories they can never escape, mistakes that follow them through every forced conversation about their forge's great quality. Farkas and Vilkas's fragmented memories. The twin brothers of the companions share more than blood. They share a soul literally. Ancient Nordic magic used to create berserker warriors sometimes split one soul between two bodies. Fragments of dialogue suggest they experience each other's emotions and occasionally share dreams. When one is injured, the other feels phantom pain. Their different personalities, werewolf enthusiasm versus scholarly caution, represent two halves of the same consciousness trying to develop individual identities. The ritual to cure their beast blood is significant because it's forcing a metaphysical divorce, separating what was meant to be unified. If you cure one but not the other, you're tearing a soul in half. Their arguments aren't sibling rivalry, but internal conflict made external. They're not just brothers. They're pieces of the same ancient warrior, fractured across two bodies, trying to be individuals while bound by magic neither of them fully understands. Ayla, the huntress's secret fear, the fierce werewolf warrior who embraces the beast blood, hides deep terror. She's not afraid of death or combat. She's afraid of losing control. Unused dialogue reveals Isla once killed innocent civilians during a transformation. Children sheltering from a storm who stumbled upon the companions. She's never forgiven herself. Her aggressive embrace of lycanthropy is denial. If she accepts the beast, she doesn't have to face what she did. Her refusal to cure the beast blood isn't strength, but fear of what she'd have to confront with a clear human conscience. She needs the wolf's instincts to justify the unjustifiable. The hunts she leads are rituals of control, proving she can master the beast. But nightmares plague her. The faces of those children, their screams. Ayla's warrior persona hides a broken woman who can only function by becoming something inhuman, because humanity demands accountability she can't bear to face. Mercurio's failed academia, the confident mage for hire in Riften's Bee and Barb, brags about his magical prowess, but he's a College of Winterhold dropout. Records show Mercurio was expelled for repeatedly failing destruction exams by overestimating his abilities and causing property damage. He's competent, not brilliant. His bravado is compensation for academic failure. Letters suggest he came from a wealthy family who disowned him after the expulsion. Working as mercenary muscle is humiliating for someone who dreamed of becoming Archmage. His sarcastic comments about other mages are bitter jealousy. When you hire him, you're hiring someone desperate to prove he's not a failure. His aggressive spell casting in combat is him trying too hard. He overcompensates, burning through magicka recklessly. Mercurio's story is sad. He had potential, but not discipline. Now he's trapped selling his services to adventurers, a permanent reminder of dreams that crumbled because he couldn't pass basic examinations. Benor's hidden nobility. The brawler in Morthal who challenges you to fisticuffs seems like simple muscle. But examine his possessions closely. He owns a signet ring hidden in his house with a noble family crest from High Rock. Benor is actually a disgraced knight who fled his homeland after a scandal. Dialogue hints he was framed for a crime he didn't commit, possibly involving another noble's spouse. Rather than face execution, he ran to Skyrim, the only place his family's reach couldn't extend. He challenges people to brawls because it's the closest he can get to honorable combat. His title, lands, and name are all lost. When you fight him and earn his respect, you're the first person in years to treat him as an equal rather than a random thug. If you make him a follower, he regains a fragment of his old life purpose and service. Benor carries himself with subtle dignity that Morthal's peasants don't recognize. He's a fallen knight, playing the part of common brawler. Honor stripped away by accusations he can never disprove, living in eternal exile in this miserable swamp town. Belethor's dark merchandise. The general store owner in Whiterun makes an infamous joke about selling his sister. It's not a joke. Belethor is connected to Skyrim's slave trade, moving people to Morrowind through hidden channels. Letters in his locked office reference special inventory arriving at night. His cheerful merchant persona hides a ruthless businessman who'll trade anything for profit. Some items in his store appear briefly, then vanish mysterious Nordic artifacts with suspicious bloodstains, jewelry that matches descriptions of heirlooms from murdered nobles. He's not just a fence, he's laundering stolen goods from across Skyrim. When bandits raid a farm and kill the family, Belethor buys their possessions from the raiders. His store is built on misery. Every coin he makes drips with someone else's tragedy. His employees don't know the full extent of his operations. They see a successful merchant. In reality, Belethor represents Skyrim's black market, the invisible economy running beneath the surface, when nothing is sacred and everything has a price, including lives. Fralia Greymane's intelligence network. The grieving mother searching for her missing son seems like a tragic figure, but she's one of Skyrim's most connected spies. Fralia has informants throughout Whiterun and Solitude, feeding her information about Thalmor movements. She's not just looking for her son. She's running resistance operations against the Aldmeri Dominion. Her market stall is a dead drop for passing messages. The clan's Battleborn feud provides perfect cover. Everyone assumes she's distracted by family drama, but she's coordinating safe houses for Talos worshippers. Letters in her home reference contacts in Hammerfell and High Rock. She's part of an international network. Her son Thorold's capture wasn't random. The Thalmor knew what family he came from. When you rescue him, you're not just saving a soldier. You're protecting a key intelligence asset. Fralia's tears are real, but so is her steel. She's a warrior who fights with information instead of swords, making her more dangerous than any companion. Madesi's artisan pride. The Argonian jeweler in Riften seems like a struggling craftsman, but his work is remarkable, good enough to attract nobility from across Tamriel. He's creating pieces for Jarls under anonymous commissions. His low profile isn't failure, but protection. Several famous jewelers have been murdered for their trade secrets, and Madesi survived by appearing unremarkable. The amulets he sells are masterpieces masquerading as common goods. Expert appraisers would recognize his techniques as legendary. He's possibly one of the finest jewelers on the continent, hiding in Riften's shadows. His dream of owning a stall in the Riften marketplace isn't ambition, but misdirection. He wants people to think he's climbing the ladder when he's already at the top. The Argonian taxes that keep him poor are real, but he's also secretly wealthy with gold cached outside the city. If raiders ever threatened Riften, they'd discover Madesi's quarters contain a fortune. He's a master craftsman playing the part of struggling immigrant to avoid unwanted attention from thieves, nobles, and those who'd kill to steal his techniques. Gullum eyes double life. The Argonian smuggler in the East Empire Company presents himself as a simple dock worker. He's actually nobility from Black Marsh, an heir to a heistry who fled political assassination. His smuggling isn't crime for profit, but covert operations supporting Argonian interests in Skyrim. The items he moves aren't random contraband, but specific resources Black Marsh needs. Herbs, historical artifacts, intelligence reports. His position at the docks is strategic. He monitors Imperial shipping, tracking military movements and economic flows. The Thieves Guild thinks they're using him. He's using them. Every heist he arranges serves dual purpose, enriching the guild while gathering intelligence. Letters in his house reference the roots, his connection to heist trees that guide his mission. When you investigate him for Mercer Frey, you're interfering with espionage operations that extend far beyond Skyrim. Gullumai answers to something ancient and unknowable. His cheerful merchant facade hides one of Black Marsh's most effective operatives, a prince playing commoner while serving mysterious plans only the Hist understand. Niranya's Altma spy network, the high elf merchant in Windhelm who acts as a fence, appears to be thriving in a Nord-dominated city through clever business. She's actually a Thalmor intelligence officer, reporting on Stormcloak activities. Her position as a fence gives her perfect access to what rebels steal, what they're buying, where their resources flow. Items passing through her hands tell stories. A stolen Imperial sword suggests Stormcloak supply problems, Looted armor reveals successful ambushes. She catalogues everything for handlers in solitude. Her acceptance in Windhelm despite being Altmer isn't luck, but strategy. She deliberately positioned herself as the good elf who helps Nords, creating trust. Some of the items she fences are baited. Imperial artifacts modified with tracking spells, allowing Thalmor to map Stormcloak smuggling routes. When you sell stolen goods to Niranya, you're inadvertently feeding intelligence to the enemy. She represents the spy war beneath Skyrim's civil war, a conflict fought in shadows and spreadsheets, where every transaction betrays someone. Risard's Khajiit intelligence. The caravan leader seems like a simple merchant, but Khajiit caravans are Elswehr's intelligence network in Skyrim. Risard reports on political developments, economic conditions, and military movements. His nomadic lifestyle is perfect cover. He goes everywhere, sees everything, and nobody suspects because, of course, the Khajiit are trading. Letters hidden in his caravan reference the Mene, Elswehr's spiritual leader, and discussions about Thalmor expansion. Khajiit have their own agenda, independent of the Empire or Stormcloaks. They're watching both sides, waiting to see which serves Elswehr's interests. The skooma Risard's associated caravans move isn't just contraband, it's leverage. Addicted Nords make pliable informants. The scheme is brilliant. Supply the drug, gather intelligence from weakened targets. When you trade with Risard, you're participating in espionage operations most players never notice. The caravans represent a third faction in Skyrim's war. One, watching patiently from the margins, while others kill each other, gathering information for moves nobody sees coming. Lucan Valerius's obsession. The shopkeeper in Riverwood seems focused on retrieving his golden claw. His obsession goes deeper. That claw represents his family's history, proof his ancestors weren't common merchants but scholars. The claw was an heirloom passed down through generations of historians, and losing it means losing his identity. His sister Camilla doesn't understand why he's so desperate. To her, it's just gold. To Lucan, it's everything. Letters in his shop reference research into Dragonstone tablets and ancient Nordic burial practices. Lucan isn't just a merchant. He's an amateur archaeologist who turned to shopkeeping to fund expeditions. The bandits who stole the claw weren't random. They were hired by a rival collector who wants to discredit Lucan's family's historical claims. Retrieving the claw isn't about business or security. It's about honor and legacy. When you return it, Lucan's gratitude is disproportionate because you've restored more than property. You've validated his entire lineage and given him proof his family mattered in history. Anuriel's true loyalty. Jarl Layla. Lawgiver's steward in Riften appears to serve the throne. She serves Maven Blackbriar. Letters in her quarters reveal direct orders from Maven, including instructions to imprison Maven's own son and obscure her criminal empire. Anuriel isn't corrupt. She's owned. Maven has leveraged blackmail material that would destroy Anuriel's reputation. She's trapped serving a criminal while wearing the face of civic duty. Her political advice to Layla consistently benefits Maven's interests. Every decision pushes Riften deeper into Maven's control. Anuriel knows it. The guilt haunts her. Unused dialogue suggests she contemplated suicide. The corruption is too deep. She can't expose Maven without destroying herself. If the Imperials take Riften, Anuriel's position improves slightly. Maven still controls her, but at least it's official. The steward's tragedy is visibility. Everyone sees her serving Maven, but they don't understand she has no choice. She's a puppet whose strings cut into her flesh, dancing for a master who enjoys her suffering. Bercy Honeyhand's financial collapse. The pawned prawns owner in Riften seems like a struggling merchant. He's bleeding money because his wife Drifa is stealing from their business to feed a skooma addiction. Skooma can be found hidden beneath her bed, and conversations reveal suspicious ledger entries. Bercy knows, but won't confront her. He loves her too much. Letters suggest they were happy once, before tragedy struck. They lost a child years ago, stillborn. Drifa never recovered. The skooma dulls the pain she can't otherwise process. Bercy is choosing between his business and his wife. He'll let the shop fail before giving up on her. When the Thieves' Guild threatens his prized Dwemer statue, he's almost relieved. It's an excuse to close up, sell everything. Maybe take Drifa somewhere quiet where she can heal. The statue isn't about pride. It's his last vestige of hope, proof he once built something successful. Breaking it symbolizes everything else broken in his life. The quest seems like simple guild extortion, but you're participating in the destruction of a man desperately trying to save someone who's already lost. Revin Sadri's historical mission. The Dunmer merchant in Windhelm who seems like a struggling immigrant is actually a historical preservationist. He's collecting Nord artifacts to protect them from destruction during the Civil War. His shop contains pieces that museums would treasure, carefully catalogued and preserved. Revin knows Skyrim's history better than most Nord scholars. He sees the Civil War destroying irreplaceable heritage, and he's quietly saving what he can. Some pieces he smuggles to Morrowind for safekeeping. Others he hides, waiting for stability to return. His motivation isn't profit, but culture. When armies clash, they don't watch where they step. Ancient cairns get trampled, burial sites looted for quick gold. Revin is one man trying to protect Skyrim from itself. His shop is a fortress for history. When you sell him ancient armor or weapons, you're contributing to his archival efforts. He pays fairly because he respects the artifacts. Revin represents a different kind of heroism, quiet preservation while others destroy, ensuring future generations can remember what came before the war that tore everything apart. Sibyl Stentor's centuries of service. The court mage in Solitude seems unremarkable until you realize she's a vampire who's been advising Jarls for over 100 years. She's witnessed Solitude's entire modern history, serving in shadows while rulers come and go. Her longevity gives her unmatched perspective on Nordic politics. She remembers treaties, grudges, and secrets buried by time. Sibyl has no loyalty to specific Jarls, only to Solitude itself. She's seen idiots and geniuses on the throne. Her advice remains consistent: protect the city, maintain stability. Don't let petty ambitions destroy centuries of progress. The vampire secret is poorly kept. Most court members know or suspect, but she's too valuable to remove. Her knowledge alone justifies the risk. Letters suggest she feeds ethically, taking small amounts from willing donors who trade blood for favors. She's not a monster, but a predator integrated into Solitude's ecology. When you meet her, you're encountering something rare. A vampire who chose civilization over savagery, trading the hunt for purpose, using immortality not for selfish ends, but civil service that spans generations. Branshay's hidden heritage. The Dunmer merchant in Riften, who you framed during a Thieves' Guild quest, is the last living heir to House Telvanni. His parents fled Morrowind during the Oblivion Crisis, when House Telvanni's mushroom towers burned. They left him with Argonians in Black Marsh, hoping he'd survive. Those Argonians raised him with love, but Branshay has no idea about his noble blood. His quest to discover his origins is tragic, because the truth would make him a target. Remaining Telvanni survivors want their bloodlines extinguished. Exposing his identity means assassination. The journal he seeks from Argonian caravans contains the story, but also a warning to remain hidden. If you complete his quest and he learns his heritage, he faces an impossible choice: reclaim nobility and risk death, or remain a commoner and abandon his legacy. The Thieves' Guild quest that frames him for theft isn't just inconvenient, it's potentially life-saving. Jail time removes him from circulation right when Telvanni agents arrive in Riften looking for loose ends. Your betrayal accidentally protects him from something far worse than Riften's prison. Torbjorn, Shattershield's breaking mind. The patriarch of the Shattershield family in Windhelm is collapsing under grief. His daughter Frigga was murdered, and his wife Tova is consumed by loss. Torbjorn holds the family together through willpower alone, but he's fragmenting. Letters show him considering abandoning everything, walking into the wilderness to die. He's only alive because his remaining daughter Nilsine needs him. But if Nilsine dies during the Dark Brotherhood quest, Torbjorn's fragile stability shatters completely. He commits suicide, unable to bear the total destruction of his family. The tragedy isn't just the deaths, but watching a strong man break piece by piece. His office contains half-written letters, abandoned mid-sentence. His work suffers. Business partners notice. The Shattershield company is failing not from competition, but because its owner is spiritually dead, going through motions while waiting for permission to stop. When you kill Nilsine, you're not just assassinating a target, you're delivering a final blow to a man barely clinging to reasons to live, erasing an entire family from Windhelm's history, their legacy ending in blood and silence. Kira's impossible dream. The farmer's daughter near Ivarstead dreams of joining the Bard's College, but her family can't afford it. Her story represents countless others, people with talent trapped by circumstance. The game never lets you help her meaningfully. You can't fund her education or provide recommendation. She's trapped on that farm forever, her songs heard only by chickens and crops. It's a deliberate bit of bitter realism. Not every problem has a solution. Not every dream is achievable. Kira will live her entire life knowing she had the gift, but lacked opportunity. She'll grow old resenting that farm. Maybe marry someone local, raise children, and watch them inherit her trapped existence. The game could have made her a quest giver, but developers chose honesty over comfort. Sometimes the adventurer can't save everyone. Sometimes you just witness quiet tragedy and move on, leaving behind someone whose music will never reach beyond a farmhouse where dreams go to die in furrows of turned earth. Elrindir and Honoriath's family, Secret, the brothers running the drunken huntsman in Whiterun, seem like simple merchants. But their hunting trips aren't about game. They're searching for their father, who disappeared into the wilderness years ago. Letters suggest he was investigating something in the forests, possibly related to werewolves or ancient Nordic burial sites. He never returned. The brothers keep the shop running as a way to maintain some normalcy while their private investigations continue. Elrindir handles sales. Honoriath tracks, leads in the wild. Neither admits how much it's consuming them. Their business success is a facade. They're barely profitable, spending earnings on expeditions that never find answers. Some nights, Honoriath doesn't sleep, staring at maps and trying to reconstruct his father's last known path. The Huntsman is a memorial disguised as a business. Two men pretending to move forward, while trapped in the moment their father vanished. Every arrow they sell a prayer that somehow he'll walk through the door with explanations that will never come. Astrid's calculated betrayal. The Dark Brotherhood leader who eventually betrays you to the Penitus Oculatus isn't acting on impulse. Her plan crystallizes slowly throughout your questline. Letters in her quarters show correspondence with Commander Morrow months before the Emperor contract. Astrid sees the Brotherhood's destruction as inevitable. The Night Mother's return threatens her authority. She can't compete with divine will, so she negotiates with the Empire, offering the Emperor's would-be assassins in exchange for immunity for her remaining family. It's not cowardice, but sacrifice. She trades her honor to save people she loves. The tragedy is that her plan fails. The Penitus Oculatus betrays her anyway, killing everyone despite her cooperation. As she burns, Astrid realizes she destroyed the Brotherhood herself, that her pragmatic betrayal accomplished nothing except proving she was never worthy of leading a group bound by honor among killers. Her final request for death is acknowledgement that she became the enemy she swore to fight against. She died not as an assassin, but as a traitor, her name a curse forever. Vizara's ancient past. The Argonian assassin is far older than he appears, possibly over 200 years old. Argonians age differently, and Vizara has served the Dark Brotherhood longer than anyone else in the Sanctuary. He remembers contracts from the Oblivion Crisis era, legendary kills that became Dark Brotherhood teaching stories. He's killed Jarls, mages, and champions that others only read about. His calm demeanor comes from having seen everything. Nothing surprises him anymore. When the Penitus Oculatus attacks, he fights without fear because death is just another contract fulfilled. Letters suggest Vizara came to the Brotherhood after his entire family was wiped out by bandits. He turned to assassination not from cruelty, but because he needed purpose after losing everything. The Brotherhood gave him something his swamp homeland couldn't provide, a reason to keep living. His loyalty to Astrid is earned through decades of shared service. When he dies defending her, it's not obligation but love for the only family he rebuilt from ruins. Gabriella's noble deception. The Dunmer assassin with perfect manners comes from a destroyed noble house in Morrowind. She wasn't born into the Dark Brotherhood, but fled to it after political enemies murdered her family. Her refined speech isn't an act, but genuine aristocratic training. Gabriella sees assassination as politics by other means, no different than the backstabbing she witnessed in Morrowind's great houses. She chose the Brotherhood because at least here, the rules are honest. You receive a contract, you kill the target, simple. No false politeness, no smiling betrayals over dinner. Her perfectly maintained appearance and courteous demeanor are armor against the chaos. By maintaining standards, she proves she hasn't fallen. When you work with her, she's evaluating whether you understand the code. The Brotherhood isn't random killing to her. It's philosophy, the only honest relationship between power and mortality. Every assassination she completes reaffirms her choice to abandon civilization's hypocrisies for something brutal but truthful. Babette's childhood frozen. The vampire child, who's actually 300 years old, contains layers of tragedy. She was bitten at age 10, freezing her body permanently in childhood. For 3 centuries, she's been trapped in a form that people instinctively protect rather than fear. This makes her the perfect assassin. Victims never see death coming from a little girl, but the psychological toll is immeasurable. She hasn't experienced puberty, relationships, or physical maturity. Her mind aged while her body remained fixed. Unused dialogue suggests deep loneliness. she can never be taken seriously by anyone outside the Brotherhood. People treat her like a child, no matter how eloquently she speaks. The Brotherhood is the only place she isn't patronized. When the sanctuary falls, Babette survives because she's hidden from the Penitus Oculatus. But survival means facing centuries more of frozen childhood, outliving everyone, making friends who age and die while she remains a child, watching the world from outside time. Nazir's silent sacrifice. The Red Guard assassin who handles contracts seems straightforward, but his backstory reveals tragedy. He was framed for murder in Hammerfell, a crime he didn't commit. Rather than face execution, he fled to Skyrim and joined the Brotherhood. The irony is brutal. He was innocent of the crime that made him fugitive, but now he's guilty of dozens of actual murders. His casual attitude about killing is defense mechanism. If he acknowledged the horror, he'd have to face what he's become. Letters suggest he sends gold anonymously to the family of his false victim, trying to provide restitution for a crime someone else committed. When the sanctuary is destroyed, Nazir is devastated not by death, but by failure. He survived again, while others died protecting him. His entire life is running from responsibility that wasn't his while carrying guilt for deaths that are. He's a good man doing evil things, trapped by false accusation into a life that makes the accusation retroactively true. Delvin Mallory's double service. The Thieves Guild's training master has history with both the Guild and Dark Brotherhood. Years ago, he was sent by Gallus to serve the Brotherhood temporarily as protection after a job went bad. He killed someone during a botched burglary, and Gallus needed him hidden while heat died down. During his Brotherhood service, Delvin had a relationship with Astrid. When he returned to the Guild, he brought connections that allowed the two organizations to cooperate. His casual mention of this history hides emotional complexity. He loved Astrid, but chose the Guild over her. When you discover the Brotherhood, he knows exactly who leads it and wrestles with reopening old wounds. His training of Guild members is penance, trying to ensure younger thieves don't make his mistakes. The strict rules he enforces about killing during jobs come from personal experience. He knows how easily theft becomes murder, how quickly you cross lines that can't be uncrossed. His gruff exterior hides someone who's lost pieces of himself to both organizations and doesn't know which family truly owns his loyalty. Vex's hidden romance. The abrasive female thief seems married to her work, but dialogue reveals unrequited love for Delvin. She joined the Guild hoping to impress him, became excellent at her craft, but he only sees her as student. Her harsh attitude toward new members comes from jealousy when Delvin praises others. She's trapped in adolescent crush that won't fade. Letters in her quarters contain unsent confessions, love notes written and abandoned. Vex knows it's hopeless, but can't stop hoping. Her dangerous jobs aren't bravado, but desperation. Maybe if she's good enough, risky enough, legendary enough, he'll notice her as more than just another thief. The tragedy is Delvin does care, just not romantically. He values her as friend and student, which makes her ache worse. She'd rather he hated her than remained oblivious. When you complete her jobs perfectly, her praise is genuine, but also painful. You're succeeding where she's failing, winning his approval, becoming the protégé she wishes she could be. Her entire life revolves around unreturned feelings that poison everything she achieves. Sapphire's brutal origin. The mysterious thief guards her past violently, threatening anyone who pries. Her real name is lost. Sapphire comes from a gem she stole. Her backstory is horrific. She was a farm girl whose family was killed by bandits. She was assaulted and left for dead. That trauma created the cold, dangerous woman you meet. She fled to Riften, learned to fight, and eventually found the Thieves' Guild. Her skill isn't natural talent, but survival instinct honed by trauma. Every threat she makes is promise backed by experience. She's killed before and will again. Letters from Glover Mallory in Solstheim reveal he's her father, but they've never met. He doesn't know what happened to her. If you bring her his letter, she refuses to read it. Accepting his existence means acknowledging who she was before. Sapphire murdered that girl herself, burying her under layers of steel and venom. Reconnecting with family means excavating pain she can't survive feeling. Her isolation is self-imposed protection. She'd rather be alone forever than risk being vulnerable again. Karlia's calculated vengeance. The betrayed thief who frames you for Mercer's crimes is playing a longer game than apparent. Her 25-year quest to expose Mercer isn't just justice, but obsession that consumed her life. She loved Gallus not just as partner, but romantically. His murder wasn't just betrayal of the guild, but intimate personal destruction. Every year in exile, she planned not just Mercer's exposure, but his specific suffering. She wants him to experience the isolation she endured. Letters suggest she spent years in Morrowind and Cyrodiil, gathering information, training in skills specifically designed to counter Mercer's abilities. Her return is timed perfectly. She waited until Mercer was most confident, most entrenched. The fall would hurt more. When you help her, you're not restoring justice, but enabling revenge that's been carefully aged like poison in a forgotten bottle. Her calm demeanor hides someone who's thought about Mercer's death every day for a quarter century, planning variations, refining approaches, until vengeance became her only identity. She's not a thief anymore. She's a vendetta with a pulse. Brynjolf's lost idealism. The second in command of the Thieves' Guild seems like a cynical career criminal, but he once believed the guild could be force for good. Letters reveal young Brynjolf joined because the guild's code appealed to his sense of honor. Steal from the rich, maintain order in Riften's underworld, protect the vulnerable. But watching the guild decay under Mercer's leadership crushed that idealism. Now he's bitter, recruiting you because he's desperate, not hopeful. His charm is muscle memory, going through motions of someone who used to care. When you restore the guild, Brynjolf's transformation back to idealism is gradual and painful. He has to relearn hope after years of cynicism. His reluctance to become guild master isn't humility but fear. What if he fails again? What if his leadership destroys what you rebuilt? The man is broken, held together by routines and false confidence, trying to remember what it felt like to believe the Thieves' Guild stood for something more than enriching criminals who pretend they have standards. Tenilia's merchant diplomacy. The fence-managing guild armor and equipment is also their diplomatic liaison with Skyrim's criminal underworld. Her merchant role is cover for maintaining relationships with bandit clans, smuggler rings, and corrupt officials. Every sale she makes cements alliances. The armor she sells isn't just functional. It's marked with subtle symbols that identify wearers as guild-affiliated, preventing attacks from allied groups. Tenilia's importance can't be overstated. Without her, the guild would be at war with every criminal faction in Skyrim. She negotiates territorial agreements, mediates disputes, and ensures the underworld doesn't tear itself apart. Letters show dealings with groups across Tamriel, maintaining a criminal network that spans continents. When you buy from her, you're participating in political theater. Each transaction reinforces the guild's power. Her position seems minor, but she's holding together a criminal empire through careful diplomacy and strategic commerce. If Tanilia died, the guild would collapse not from lack of thieves, but from loss of the invisible web holding disparate criminals in uneasy cooperation. Vald's debt and redemption. The mercenary guarding Mercer's house in Riften seems like a simple thug, but his story is tragic. Mercer holds Vald's family farm as collateral for a debt. Vald serves not from loyalty, but desperation to protect his elderly mother from eviction. He hates Mercer, but has no choice. Every day guarding that house, he imagines killing his employer. When you offer to clear his debt by retrieving the deed, his gratitude is overwhelming. You freed him from slavery. His subsequent disappearance from the game is intentional. He returns to his farm, takes care of his mother, and tries to forget the things he did under Mercer's thumb. The choice to kill or spare him reflects player morality. Killing him is expedient, but eliminates someone forced into service. Sparing him means more effort, but allows someone trapped in circumstances not of their making to escape. Vald represents countless NPCs whose stories happen off-screen, people whose desperation forces them into roles they despise, hoping someday for escape that rarely comes. Mercer Frey's twisted justification. The guild master, who betrays everyone, doesn't see himself as villain. His journals reveal a man who believes he earned the right to steal from the guild. He rebuilt it after previous decline, made it profitable, invested his life. The wealth he diverted was compensation for services rendered. In his mind, the guild owed him more than they paid. His betrayal of Gallus and Carlia wasn't personal, but practical. They discovered his embezzlement and had to be removed. The Eyes of Falmer were his retirement fund, something he'd earned through decades of service. Nocturnal's curse stripped his luck, but Mercer interpreted this as jealousy rather than punishment. His entire philosophy centers on entitlement. He did the work, so rewards belong to him. The guild members are employees, not family. When you finally confront him, he's genuinely confused by accusations. In his worldview, he's the victim, a man whose contributions were undervalued by ungrateful thieves who didn't understand his sacrifice. It's sociopathic logic, but in his mind, completely justified. Rune's lost identity. The thief with no memory of his past was found as child on a shipwreck, clutching a bag of gold. His name isn't real, just a rune carved on the bag. Everything about his origin is mystery. The bag's symbol suggests Nordic or possibly Akaviri origin. Nobody knows where the ship came from or why a child was aboard with a fortune in gold. Rune has spent his life searching for answers, following leads that go nowhere. His cheerful demeanor hides existential crisis. Who is he? Does his family still live? Did they die in the shipwreck? Is the gold blood money or inheritance? Every job he takes funds his investigation. Every contact in the guild is potential information source. When you befriend him, he shares some of his research, hoping you'll stumble across something he's missed. The tragedy is no answers exist. The developers left his backstory deliberately incomplete. Rune will search forever, a man defined by absence, his entire identity built around a question that has no answer, carrying a fortune that might be curse or blessing from people he'll never know. Jian, the Fist's underground empire. The Riften Ratway's criminal appears to be simple bandit, but he controls significant territory. His gang isn't random thugs, but organized operation controlling access to Riften's underworld. The Ratway isn't just sewers, but smuggling network with roots throughout the city. Jian takes tribute from anyone using the paths, creating a toll system for criminals. His relationship with the Thieves Guild is tense but professional. They pay passage fees like everyone else. He's built an empire under Riften that most citizens don't know exists. His gang represents the guild's competition, criminals who don't accept guild authority. When you fight through his men, you're participating in territorial dispute. The guild wants full control. Jian wants autonomy. His death removes a power structure that, while criminal, maintains certain order. Without him, the Ratway becomes more chaotic. Independent gangs spring up. The violence increases. He was, in his own way, keeping worse elements contained. Your heroic clearing of the Ratway destabilizes an ecosystem, replacing one boss with a dozen warring factions. Farengar's secret fires blades. Connection. Whiterun's court mage isn't as neutral as he appears. His research into dragons, his connection to Delphine, and his preparation before Alduin's return suggest he's Blades affiliated. Letters in his quarters reference contacts in Cyrodiil discussing dragon prophecies years before the game begins. He was positioned in Whiterun specifically to monitor for dragon activity. His aloof, academic persona is cover for intelligence gathering. When he sends you to Bleak Falls Barrow, he already knows what's there. He's testing your capabilities while gathering information for Delphine. His apparent surprise at dragon attacks is performance. He's been expecting them. The research he conducts isn't academic curiosity, but strategic intelligence. Every dragon sighting, every ancient ruin investigated, feeds into Blade's operations. Farengar represents the organization's sleeper agents, scholars positioned throughout Skyrim, gathering knowledge, identifying potential recruits, waiting for dragons to return so they can fulfill their original purpose. Dragon slaying. Woundfirth, the Unliving's unjust imprisonment. Windhelm's court mage becomes prime suspect in serial killings because citizens distrust magic. His nickname, the Unliving, doesn't mean undead, but refers to his antisocial behavior. He's innocent, framed by circumstance and prejudice. When you investigate, evidence points to him only because he's different. The actual killer, Calixto, relies on this bias. Woundfirth is Windhelm's easiest scapegoat. If you arrest him, another murder occurs, proving his innocence. But the damage is done. Even freed, his reputation never recovers. Citizens avoid him more than before. The guard watches him constantly. His life becomes prison despite exoneration. The quest highlights Skyrim's fear of magic, how quickly communities turn on practitioners. Woundfirth's tragedy is being punished for what he is rather than what he did. He's skilled, loyal to Ulfric, but one false accusation nearly destroys him. When you visit him after the quest, his bitterness is palpable. Justice was served, but justice doesn't erase prejudice. He remains the Unliving, forever marked by murders he didn't commit. Calixto Corium's horrific ritual. The seemingly friendly museum curator is Windhelm's serial killer, murdering young women in an attempt to resurrect his dead sister. His museum contains the tools he's using, carefully disguised as historical artifacts. The necromancer's amulet he shows you is the ritual's centerpiece. Each murder provides components. He's been studying ancient Nordic resurrection magic, attempting to rebuild his sister piece by piece. The horrific part is understanding his motivation. His sister Lucilla didn't just die. She was murdered brutally, and Calixto witnessed it. Grief drove him insane. He couldn't accept her death, so he devoted his life to reversing it. Every woman he kills looks similar to Lucilla. He's not seeing victims but components. His delusional mind has categorized murder as surgery, necessary steps in a medical procedure. When confronted, he genuinely believes you're interfering with something beautiful. His love for his sister twisted into monstrosity. The museum is shrine to his madness. Every exhibit relating somehow to death, resurrection, or preservation. He's telling his story publicly, but nobody understands until corpses pile up. Maddanach's underground kingdom, the imprisoned king in rags, actually runs a criminal empire from Sidna Mine. His imprisonment is arrangement with Silverblood family. They use him as disposal method for inconvenient people. Maddanach's forsworn loyalists are smuggled into the mine disguised as prisoners. They're not trapped, they're positioned. When you enter, you're joining a military camp masquerading as prison. The inmates you see aren't broken criminals, but forsworn soldiers awaiting orders. Maddanach's escape isn't improvisation. It's plan executed dozens of times. He leaves, conducts operations, returns. The Silverbloods benefit by controlling when forsworn violence erupts. They target competitors, eliminate rivals, all while maintaining deniability. Maddanach gets resources, information, recruits. When you help him escape, you're not breaking a prisoner out. You're unleashing an operative back into the field. His gentle demeanor hides a brilliant tactician who turned imprisonment into strategic advantage, running revolution from a cell, proving that bars and chains are meaningless to someone with vision. Thonar Silverblood's evil empire. The Silverblood patriarch controls Markarth through violence and economic pressure. His family owns the mines, the city, and most citizens' livelihoods. Dissent means death or imprisonment in Sidna Mine, which he also controls. His arrangement with Maddanach ensures forsworn attack his enemies. His connection to the Thieves' Guild means stolen goods are fenced through his operations. Every piece of ore mined in the Reach enriches him. Every illegal transaction pays him tribute. He's built a totalitarian state within Skyrim's borders. The Jarl is his puppet. Guards are his soldiers. When you investigate forsworn conspiracy, every thread leads back to Thonar. He's criminal genius who made crime look like civic duty. His wealth is built on suffering. The mines are killing workers slowly. The prisoners in Kidna are slaves. The forsworn are his private army. And everyone is too afraid to challenge him because opposing Silverblood means losing everything. Your choices in Markarth matter less than they seem. No matter what you do, Silverblood power remains. It's commentary on how deeply corruption can embed itself, becoming the actual government. Igmund's impossible position. Markarth's Jarl is trapped between Silverblood family pressure and forsworn attacks. He's not a strong leader, but a decent man in an impossible situation. His father made deals with Silverbloods that Igmund inherited. Breaking those agreements would collapse Markarth's economy, but maintaining them makes him complicit in atrocities. The Forsworn see him as enemy, the Silverbloods as puppet, his own guards as ineffective. Unused dialogue reveals Igmund knows he's failing. He drinks too much, sleeps poorly, and considers abdication daily. He's haunted by decisions made during the Forsworn uprising, civilians killed on his orders. The Markarth incident, where Ulfric Stormcloak retook the city, stains his conscience. He allowed Talos worship to rally troops, then broke that promise under Thalmor pressure. Every group has legitimate grievances against him, and he has no good options. When you meet him, you're seeing a man drowning in political quicksand, making bad choices because good choices don't exist, leading a city that's been dying slowly for decades. Elisif the Fair's crushing grief. Solitude's young Jarl is barely holding together after her husband Torig's murder. She's not prepared for leadership, trained as ceremonial consort, not ruler. Her advisors manipulate her grief, pushing agendas while she's vulnerable. General Tullius wants military support. The Thalmor want political concessions. Falk Firebeard tries protecting her, but has his own agenda. Elisif is surrounded by jackals disguised as advisors. Her requests seem petty, distributing Torig's horn, burning his effigy, but they're desperate attempts to process grief through ritual. She's trying to say goodbye to a husband she loved, while an entire court watches and judges. Unused dialogue shows her considering suicide. Only duty keeps her alive. When you help her, she's pathetically grateful, because most people want something. You're one of few who help without demanding payment in influence. Her story is tragedy of someone thrust into power during trauma, expected to lead when she can barely function, surrounded by people exploiting her pain for political gain. Ulfric Stormcloak's Thalmor manipulation. The Stormcloak leader genuinely believes in his cause, but documents in Thalmor Embassy reveal he's an unwitting asset. During his capture in the Great War, Thalmor interrogated him, and he unknowingly provided information. They've been manipulating him ever since. His rebellion serves Thalmor interests by keeping the Empire weakened. The Thalmor don't want Ulfric to win. They want the war to continue indefinitely, bleeding both sides. Every Stormcloak victory and every Imperial victory both serve Dominion goals. Ulfric is so focused on Skyrim's independence, he can't see he's playing into enemy hands. The tragedy is, he's honorable man destroying what he loves. His rebellion kills Nords, destabilizes the Empire, and ultimately benefits the Aldmeri Dominion. When you join Stormcloaks, you're helping Ulfric fulfill Thalmor's strategy. The documents classify him as dormant asset, someone useful precisely because he doesn't know he's being used. His authentic passion makes him perfect tool. The question isn't whether Ulfric is brave or honorable. It's whether authenticity matters when your authentic actions serve your enemy's purpose. Brina Marilis' patient conspiracy. The elderly woman in Dawnstar seems like concerned citizen, but she's leading a conspiracy to overthrow Skald the Elder. She has support from significant portion of Dawnstar's population and connections to Imperial military. Her public concern about town leadership masks calculated political maneuvering. Letters reveal she's been corresponding with Solitude for months, coordinating the exact timing for her move. If Imperials win the war, she becomes Jarl, her reward for years of quiet organization. She's not power-hungry, but believes Skald's inadequate leadership is failing Dawnstar. The nightmare problem, the economic decline, everything points to his incompetence. Brina sees herself as savior, waiting for the right moment. Her patience is strategic. Move too soon, and she's traitor. Move at the right time with Imperial backing, and she's liberator. When you meet her, she's evaluating whether you're a useful asset. Every conversation is recruitment pitch or intelligence gathering. She's playing long game, seemingly powerless woman who's actually orchestrating regime change, waiting like spider for the perfect moment to strike. Vignar Greymane's reluctant leadership. The elderly warrior thrust into Whiterun's leadership after Balgruuf is forced out doesn't want power. He's too old, too tired, and too aware of his limitations. His family pressured him to accept because Greymanes needed representation. But Vignar knows he's inadequate. He misses Balgruuf's steady leadership, even though Balgruuf opposed Stormcloaks. The war forced him into a role he's not suited for. His decisions are guided mostly by advisors because he doesn't trust his own judgment. dialogue reveals his regret. He wishes Borgruff had joined Ulfric. Then they could have led together. Instead, he's managing a city he doesn't understand, making decisions that affect thousands while knowing he's not qualified. His tenure is marked by decline. Trade decreases, crime increases, and citizens suffer. He's aware of his failure, but trapped. Abdicating means admitting Greymanes were wrong. So he persists, each day more exhausting than the last, leading Whiterun into decline while watching everything Borgruff built slowly crumble. Layla Lawgiver's willful blindness. Riften's Jarl is either incredibly naive or deliberately ignorant of Maven Blackbriar's control over her city. Her steward Anuriel feeds her obviously biased information, and she accepts it without question. Maven's criminal empire operates openly, and Layla sees nothing suspicious. Her guards are corrupt, her citizens afraid, and she believes Riften is thriving. Some interpret this as stupidity. Others see it as willful blindness. Layla doesn't want to know the truth because knowing would require action she's incapable of taking. Challenging Maven would destroy her politically. So she constructs elaborate delusions, believing her own propaganda. When Imperials threaten Riften, she's genuinely confused why they'd attack such a prosperous city. Her disconnect from reality is complete. Letters suggest her family was once powerful, but through generations of poor leadership, the lawgivers lost everything to Maven's machinations. Layla inherited a throne that's ceremonial. She's Jarl in name only, performing duties while someone else runs her city, maintained in position because she's harmless, perfect figurehead for Maven's criminal empire. Sorely, the builder's pragmatic opportunism. The woman who becomes Jarl of Morthal during Imperial takeover isn't idealist. She's opportunist who saw chance for advancement. Before the war, she was minor figure, ignored and underestimated. Imperial victory means sudden power. She supports empire not from loyalty, but self-interest. Dialogue reveals she's already planning how to entrench her position, making alliances, distributing favors. She's efficient but cold, treating Jarl position as business opportunity. Citizens are resources to be managed, not people to serve. The tragedy is she's probably better leader than Idgrod Ravencrone, whose mysticism made her ineffective. Sorely solves problems, improves trade, repairs infrastructure, but she lacks vision beyond personal gain. When you meet her, you're seeing someone who thrives during chaos, turning war into ladder-climbing opportunity. She'll be competent Jarl until something more profitable comes along. Her story represents those who view political upheaval not as tragedy, but career advancement. Disaster capitalism in feudal system, Kraldar's vengeful reign. The new Jarl of Winterhold after Imperial takeover is driven entirely by revenge. His family suffered under Career's administration, and he spent years plotting retaliation. When he takes power, his first acts are vindictive. He targets Career's allies, redistributes property, and settles old grudges. His governance is competent but mean-spirited. He doesn't care about Winterhold's future as much as he cares about punishing those who wronged him. Citizens who supported Career find themselves marginalized. It's purge disguised as new administration. Letters reveal Kraldar has a list of enemies he's systematically ruining. His efficiency at governance comes from years of planning this exact scenario. He knows every weakness in Winterhold's administration because he spent decades studying how to dismantle it. When you meet him, you're encountering someone whose entire political career is revenge fantasy made manifest. He's effective but morally bankrupt, proof that competence and ethics aren't related, that someone can run city well while being fundamentally motivated by hatred rather than public service. Brun will free Winter's naive idealism. The man who becomes Jarl of Windhelm after Imperial takeover genuinely wants to help the city's oppressed. He's seen Grey Quarter suffering, heard Dark Elf complaints, and wants justice. But his idealism quickly crashes against reality. Changing centuries of discrimination isn't accomplished through decree. The Nord citizens resist. The Dark Elves, after generations of abuse, don't trust sudden kindness. His reforms create resentment without solving problems. He means well, but lacks political skill to navigate entrenched prejudices. His advisors manipulate him. Those who seem supportive are positioning themselves for advantage. Within months, his administration is floundering. He's exhausted, disillusioned, realizing goodwill isn't enough. The systems are too broken, the prejudices too deep. His story is a cautionary tale about idealism meeting reality. Being right doesn't mean being effective. Wanting justice doesn't create justice. By year's end, Windhelm is arguably worse. The Dark Elves are still oppressed, but now with a Jarl who makes empty promises. Brunwulf's tragedy is being remembered not as reformer, but as failure, whose good intentions paved road to disappointment. Thongvor Silverblood's open cruelty. If Stormcloaks win and he becomes Jarl of Markarth, Thongvor doesn't hide his evil. His first act is expanding Sidna mine operations, increasing forced labor. He openly celebrates Silverblood supremacy, making clear that Markarth exists to enrich his family. He doesn't need subtlety because he won. The Forsworn are hunted aggressively, not for peace but for extermination. Any who resist are thrown into his mine prison. He's more evil than Igmund, but also more efficient. Crime decreases because punishment is brutal. Trade increases because Silverblood connections are leveraged fully. He's effective dictator, proving authoritarianism can work if you're willing to sacrifice humanity. Citizens live better material lives under increased oppression. It's dark commentary on governance. Sometimes evil is competent. Sometimes cruel leaders make trains run on time. Thongvor doesn't pretend to care about anything except Silverblood power. His honesty is almost refreshing compared to Igmund's pretense. He's monster, but at least he's honest monster, making no apologies for crushing anyone who opposes his family's total domination of the Reach. Maik, the Liar's Fourth Wall. The Wandering Khajiit is Bethesda's self-insertion, providing meta-commentary on game design. His dialogue references missing features from previous Elder Scrolls games complaints fans had, or humorous takes on game mechanics. He mentions never finding calipers, referencing their removal as loot. He talks about magic systems, fast travel, and other design choices. Maik exists outside normal lore, breaking fourth wall while staying in character. He's developer speaking directly to players through a cat with attitude. Meeting him feels surreal because his knowledge shouldn't exist. He references things from Morrowind and Oblivion that haven't happened yet in Skyrim's timeline, or events from other Kalpas. Whether he's time traveler, divine, messenger, or just mad cat is never clarified. His function is commentary, reminding players they're in-game while maintaining immersion. The name Maik the Liar creates deniability. Nothing he says has to be true, which means everything he says can be true. He's Bethesda's voice, both mocking and loving their games through eternally wandering trickster. The Chicken Necromancer's dark humour. Southeast of Riften, between Gaiaman's Hall and Honeystrand Cave, sits a robed figure attempting to resurrect chickens. It's both hilarious and disturbing. He successfully reanimates them, creating undead poultry that fights for him. The scene is absurdist comedy, necromancy reduced to barnyard animals. But there's darkness too. How many failed experiments led to this? Why chickens specifically? His journal, if you find it, suggests he was expelled from the College of Winterhold for unethical experiments and fled to practice in secret. Chickens were the only subjects he could acquire easily. He's been out here for months, perfecting his technique on birds, planning to move to larger subjects. The undead chickens are proof of concept. Next will be goats, then people. You're interrupting someone's descent into actual necromantic horror, catching him at the poultry stage before he graduates to grave robbing. The humor masks horror. He's madman in wilderness turning domestic animals into abominations. And nobody knows because who watches the woods for chicken necromancers? The Headless Horseman's eternal ride. This spectral figure rides through Skyrim at night, leading players toward Hamvir's Rest. He's one of few truly supernatural encounters that isn't explained. The horseman doesn't attack, doesn't speak, just rides. If you follow, you find a burial ground. Theories suggest he's guardian of that tomb, endlessly patrolling. Or perhaps he's the one buried there, cursed to ride seeking peace he can't find. The lack of explanation makes him eerie. Most Skyrim ghosts are tied to specific quests with clear origins. The Headless Horseman is pure atmosphere, existing because supernatural horror doesn't always need explanation. He reminds players that Skyrim has mysteries that won't be solved, entities that predate understanding. His random spawning means encountering him feels lucky or unlucky depending on perspective. Some players spend hours hunting him. Others stumble upon him and flee in terror. He's Bethesda saying, not everything has to make sense. Some things exist to be creepy. Embracing the unexplained in world, that usually explains too much. The Afflicted's tragic curse. Wandering Skyrim, you'll encounter Afflicted, people with faces mutated by Periite's plague. They attack on sight, spreading disease. What players miss is their tragedy. These were pilgrims who sought Periite's blessing and received curse instead. They didn't ask for this. The disease warped them into carriers, driven mad by mutations. Letters found near their camps show lucid moments where they realize what they've become. They're terrified of themselves. The aggressive attacks aren't malice but desperation. They know they're contagious and might be trying to end themselves through combat. Or they're so crazed by disease they can't control actions anymore. Their camps contain remnants of previous lives, family heirlooms, children's toys, letters from loved ones. These were normal people who made one mistake worshipping the wrong Daedric prince and paid with their humanity. Every afflicted you kill is mercy killing. They're beyond saving, beyond reason, trapped in bodies that betrayed them. Mind and flesh, both corrupted by Periite's gift. The feral giant's mourning, near Broken Tower. Redoubt stands a giant behaving unlike others. Most giants are hostile or neutral. This one is mourning a dead mammoth, standing vigil over its corpse. If you approach, he doesn't attack unless provoked. He's grieving. Giants and mammoths have symbiotic relationship in Skyrim, and this one lost his companion. The scene is touching because it proves giants have emotional depth. They're not just hostile NPCs, but beings with relationships and loss. Players who kill this giant for loot are committing murder against someone in profound grief. Leaving him be is recognizing personhood in something the game categorizes as monster. The giant never recovers. Days later, if you return, he's still there, still mourning. Eventually, he wanders off, but he returns periodically. His patrol route always circles back to that spot. He's created a memorial, visiting the place his friend died. It's heartbreaking. This random encounter has more emotional weight than many quests. Silent story about loss told through AI behavior, proving games can convey tragedy without words. The bandit plea. Occasionally, when attacking bandit camps, one bandit will try to beg for mercy rather than fight. Most players kill them anyway, because in combat, you're not listening to dialogue. But if you pause, they're pleading for life. Some claim they were forced into banditry by debt or famine. Others say they have families depending on them. A few even offer to turn themselves into guards. The game lets you spare them. If you do, they flee and disappear from the game. But think about what that means. They tried talking to a warrior who just slaughtered their camp. Against all odds, they convinced you to show mercy. Then they run into a wilderness full of danger with no equipment or supplies, probably dying alone in the cold. Your mercy might have been slower death sentence. Or maybe they reached a town, started over, became the blacksmith or farmer you never notice. The game doesn't tell you. It's quantum outcome, existing in possibility. But that moment of begging reveals every bandit has internal life, desperate circumstances that led them to crime. Most players never hear these pleas. To them, bandits are experience points. The few who listen encounter moral complexity the game intentionally hides in combat noise. The Wandering Bard's songs. Several bards travel Skyrim's roads, playing instruments and singing. They seem like ambient flavor, but their songs contain actual lore. Listen to lyrics instead of treating them as background noise. They tell stories about heroes, ancient battles, legends from Skyrim's past. Some songs reference events from previous Elder Scrolls games. Others foreshadow elements of Skyrim's story you haven't encountered yet. The bards are storytellers, preserving history through music. In medieval society, bards filled this exact role, being living libraries when most people couldn't read. These traveling musicians are doing important cultural work, ensuring legends survive. If you kill a bard who aggroes when you commit crimes, you've destroyed cultural preservation. Some songs they sing are unique to specific bards. Let them play full songs. You might hear variants you've never encountered. The college students who perform are different from traveling professionals. Listen to their technique, their variations. Skyrim's musical culture is richer than players realize because most treat bards as movable jukeboxes. They're actually historians with instruments, maintaining Skyrim's cultural memory while walking dangerous roads. The Ritual Coven. During full moons, traveling between Riften and Windhelm, you might encounter 3 witches performing ritual around a glowing circle. They attack immediately if you approach. Their ceremony is never explained. Are they summoning something? Worshipping? The ambiguity is intentional. They could be Daedric cultists, forsworn sympathizers, or practicing ancient Nordic traditions suppressed by modern religion. Their location changes, suggesting they're nomadic, moving from site to site. Evidence of previous rituals can be found, scorch marks and sacrificial remains. They're not isolated encounter, but part of larger network. Somewhere in Skyrim, witches gather in secret, practicing forbidden magic. You're witnessing one small ceremony in ongoing tradition. The fact they immediately attack suggests whatever they're doing can't afford witnesses. Your threat not to them personally, but to their operation. If you let word spread about their locations, they'd be hunted. Their hostility is self-preservation. What makes encounter eerie is timing. They only appear under specific moon phases at night. This isn't random spawn. It's calculated ritual schedule. They know when and where to gather. There's organization here, shadowy network of magic users hiding in plain sight, right under the Jarl's noses. The failed adventurer. Sometimes you find corpses in unusual locations, clearly adventurers who died trying to reach something. One example is the skeleton on a mountain peak, frozen mid-climb with grappling equipment. They were trying to summit, and weather killed them. No quest leads here, no reward awaits. It's environmental storytelling. Someone had the same adventurous spirit as the player, but they failed. Their frozen corpse is a reminder that not all adventures end heroically. Most people aren't dragonborn. They're just brave or foolish or desperate, and Skyrim kills them without noticing. These corpses often carry journals. Read them. They tell stories of determination, poor planning, unexpected weather, or simple bad luck. Some were fleeing something, hoping height would protect them. Others were seeking treasure. A few were on spiritual journeys. All died alone. The journals stop mid-sentence sometimes, as if the writer realized they wouldn't finish. These NPCs never lived in your game. They died before you arrived, but their stories populate the world, making Skyrim feel like a place where people existed before you, where your story is one of thousands, most of which ended badly. The traveling merchant's last stand. Find the overturned wagon on certain roads, surrounded by corpses. A merchant and their guards fought bandits here and lost. The scene tells story through placement. Guards died protecting the wagon. Merchant died clutching merchandise. Bandits looted quickly and left. What's tragic is the detail. The merchant was transporting wedding rings, dozens of them, likely heading to major city for bulk sale. They died for inventory that bandits probably sold for fraction of true value. Letters on the corpse reveal they had family in solitude expecting them. Days from now, that family will realize they're not coming. The guards were hired in the last town, young and inexperienced based on their equipment. They died for wages protecting someone else's property. This wasn't honorable battle. It was robbery that turned lethal. The bandits probably didn't even mean to kill everyone. Fights escalate. Fear and adrenaline make people do things they didn't plan. Now there are corpses rotting on a road, and nobody will know their names except the families who'll mourn them. You find this scene days or weeks after it happened. Too late to help. Just early enough to loot the bodies yourself, becoming no better than the bandits, or leave them with dignity, knowing they'll despawn eventually, erased by the game's cleanup scripts, dying twice, once in story and once in code. Faldrus the Pilgrim's Glitch. This random encounter has a unique twist. Faldrus is pilgrimaging to Azura's shrine. He's polite, friendly, and continues his journey. If you follow, he completes his pilgrimage, prays, and leaves. Standard stuff. But here's the glitch. If you kill him during the first encounter, he can respawn later with no memory of being murdered. It's bizarre. He greets you cheerfully, despite you having killed him previously. Some interpret this as game bug. Others theorize it's deeper. Maybe Azura resurrects her devoted pilgrims. Maybe he's undead, trapped in eternal pilgrimage, dying and respawning forever. Or perhaps time in Skyrim isn't linear. Your second meeting is his first. You killed him in the future and he hasn't experienced it yet. Or it's just a bug. And reading meaning into it is overthinking. But that ambiguity creates narratives. Players tell stories about the unkillable pilgrim, the man who forgives death itself. He becomes legend, proof of Azura's protection or glitch elevated to lore. Either way, Fuldress represents how bugs can become features, mistakes transformed into mysteries through player interpretation. The Vampire Messenger's Risk. During Dark Brotherhood questline, you receive letters from mysterious contact. If you track the courier, you might discover they're vampire. They're traveling Skyrim in daylight, taking damage constantly to deliver messages on time. Their dedication is admirable and horrifying. Why would Vampire accept this job? Money, probably. Maybe they're trying to maintain normal life despite undeath. Or they're fleeing something and courier work keeps them moving. Watching them walk through sunlight, health slowly draining, just to deliver letters is tragicomic. They're literally dying to meet a deadline. Nobody ordered them to work daylight hours. They could travel at night, but that would delay deliveries. Their professionalism is killing them. If you talk to them, they're annoyed at being interrupted, but don't mention being vampire or in pain. They're just trying to do their job. It's weirdly relatable, working through adverse conditions to meet obligations. When they finally reach you and deliver the letter, they don't even ask for tip. They just leave, probably to find somewhere dark to recover. This nameless NPC is more dedicated to their job than most humans, suffering constantly because they take pride in reliable service. It's admirable and sad in equal measure. Sond and Botar's business. These two children operate as merchants near Deepfoe Crossing, selling Dwemer artifacts they scavenge. First, why are children running business alone? Where are their parents? Second, how do they consistently find valuable Dwemer items? Third, who's buying from literal children wandering Skyrim? They mark the location on your map when you meet them, then migrate to the nearest settlement. Their dialogue suggests they're orphans making their way through entrepreneurship. It's resourceful, but heartbreaking. They should be in Riften's orphanage, but they're living rough, risking their lives scavenging dangerous ruins. If you buy from them, you're supporting child labor, while simultaneously giving them means to survive. If you don't buy, you're potentially condemning them to starvation. There's no good choice. Their presence is commentary on Skyrim's social safety nets. Children slip through cracks, forced into dangerous situations because no system catches them. When you see them, you're witnessing failure of society. They're capable, clever, and brave, but they're also children who deserve better than foraging in ruins full of automatons and former, hoping some armored stranger will pay for old gears. The traveling, couples romance. Rarely, you'll encounter a Nord and an Orc traveling together, clearly in a relationship. Their romance is significant because cross-cultural relationships are uncommon in Skyrim. They face prejudice wherever they go, making their journey difficult. Listen to their conversation. They discuss where they might settle, wondering which city would accept them. Windhelm won't because of Nord supremacy. Riften might work. Markarth is possible. They're searching for a home in a world that doesn't want them together. If bandits attack and one dies, the survivor doesn't continue the journey. They sit by the body and mourn until they despawn or you leave. Their love is real. It's not quest material. There's no reward for helping them. They're just two people trying to build a life against social opposition. If you protect them from danger, they thank you briefly and continue. If you ignore them, they might die to wolves or bandits. The game doesn't care. Their story happens whether you participate or not. They're background characters with full interior lives, making choices based on values that matter to them, even though no player achievement tracks their survival. The mistaken Thalmor Justicia. Sometimes Thalmor stop you on the road, demanding to inspect your person for contraband. If you're not carrying anything illegal, they apologize and let you pass. It's easy to miss that these encounters aren't always hostile. The Thalmor truly believe they're enforcing law, keeping Skyrim safe according to White Gold Concordat. From their perspective, they're the good guys, preventing dangerous Talos worship and maintaining order. If you carry Amulet of Talos or Talos-related items, they attack, but without contraband. They're just doing their job, politely even. It humanizes them slightly. They're not all cartoonish villains. Some are bureaucrats following orders, believing in their cause. This doesn't excuse the Thalmor's broader crimes, but individual justiciars might be decent people caught in an oppressive system. When you encounter the polite ones and still kill them because you hate Thalmor, that's murder, not heroism. Game lets you make that choice. It doesn't judge, but it's asking whether you're fighting for freedom or just killing people you politically oppose. That's a complicated moral question, dropped into a random road encounter most players resolve with violence without thinking. Nafi's broken mind. The mentally ill beggar in Ivarstead is stuck in the past. His sister Rhaeda disappeared, and he believes she's still alive despite her being dead for a year. He waits by the river for her to come home, talking to her as if she's just delayed. The Dark Brotherhood eventually contracts you to kill him. Why? Who wants a harmless madman dead? Investigation reveals Rhaeda's death was an accident. She was murdered, possibly by Wilhelm at the inn, because she discovered something about his business. Nafi's insistence on finding her makes him liability. He might eventually remember crucial details. So someone pays to have him silenced. When you kill him, you're eliminating the last person who cared about Rhaeda, erasing her memory entirely. Wilhelm's inn prospers. Nobody investigates further. The truth dies with Nafi. His madness was actually prolonged grief, a mind breaking under loss. He couldn't accept his sister's death, so his reality shifted to one where she might return. It's protection mechanism that made him target. His tragedy is double. First he lost his sister, then he lost his life because he loved her too much to forget. Aventus Aretino's prayer. The boy performing the Black Sacrament to summon the Dark Brotherhood seems creepy, but understand his motivation. Grelad the Kind runs Honor Hall Orphanage through abuse and terror. Children are beaten, starved, and psychologically tortured. Aventus watched friends suffer and die under her care. He escaped, stole his mother's remains for the ritual, and decided murder was the only option. Think about that. A child concluded that becoming accessory to murder was better than returning to the orphanage. That's how bad conditions were. When you kill Grelad, you're not doing Dark Brotherhood favor. You're stopping actual child abuse. The game treats it like villainous act, introducing you to Assassination Guild. But morally, you're saving children from monster. Aventus doesn't regret contracting a killing. He's proud. When you return, he thanks you with desperate sincerity. His trauma is complete. He's learned that violence solves problems, that when institutions fail, you must take matters into your own hands. You've taught a child to trust assassins more than authorities. He'll carry that lesson forever. Whether you saved or broke him is unclear. The Shattershield tragedy. This family story is pure accumulated grief. Frigga was murdered by a butcher of Windhelm. Her twin Nilsine suffers survivor's guilt. Father Torbjorn holds the family together through willpower. Mother Tova is catatonic with loss. The family business is failing because nobody can focus. If you kill Nilsine for Dark Brotherhood, you complete the family's destruction. Torbjorn commits suicide, unable to bear losing both daughters. Tova was already mentally gone. Now she's truly alone. The Shattershield name dies, an entire family lineage erased. But even if you spare Nilsine, the family is broken. Tova never recovers. Torbjorn works himself to death. Nilsine lives with crushing guilt, knowing Frigga was killed randomly while she survived. There's no good outcome. The Butcher's legacy is total annihilation of a noble family. When you solve the murder quest, you bring justice, but not healing. Calixto's death doesn't resurrect Frigga or restore Tova's sanity. The best you can do is prevent worse tragedy. The Shattershields represent families throughout Skyrim destroyed by violence, collateral damage, in city of constant crime. Muri's revenge scheme. The alchemist. Apprentice in Markarth seems sweet until you receive her Dark Brotherhood contract. She wants Alain Dufont dead for betraying her, leading bandits to attack a family that took her in. But she also wants Nilsine Shattershield dead as bonus target. Why? Nilsine was friend who stopped associating with Muri after the scandal. Mild snub, but Muri wants her dead. That's psychotic. She's not grieving victim seeking justice. She's person who can't distinguish between genuine wrong and social slight. Both merit execution in her mind. The bonus contract reveals her true nature. Killing Alain is understandable revenge. Killing Nilsine is petty murder. If you complete both, you've enabled someone's warped sense of justice. Muri thanks you warmly, becomes marriageable, and acts like your hero. She's dangerous, someone who'll contract assassinations over minor grievances. If you marry her, you're sharing bed with someone capable of ordering hits on friends. Her alchemical knowledge becomes sinister. She knows poisons, understands how to kill quietly. Your spouse is potential serial killer, and the game lets you romance her if you help murder innocent woman. Rogar's hypnotized horror. The man whose house burned down with his wife and daughter inside immediately moved in with Alva. Everyone suspects him of arson and murder. Investigation reveals the truth is worse. Alva is vampire who hypnotized Rogar, making him her thrall. She set the fire to eliminate his family, clearing path to claim him completely. Rogar didn't kill his family but couldn't stop it. He was present, possibly helped, while mesmerized by a vampire magic. When you break the spell, he's devastated. His mind clears and he realizes what he did. The guilt destroys him. He didn't choose to betray his family, but he was the instrument. Letters suggest his daughter Helgi called for him while burning, and he ignored her because Alva commanded it. That memory will haunt him forever. He's victim and perpetrator simultaneously. The community will never forgive him. He can't forgive himself. His life is over even though he survives. He exists in walking nightmare, reliving the night he let his family burn while Vampire pulled his strings, making him dance in smoke and screams. Rogvir's unjust execution. The man executed at Solitude's opening as game begins is controversial. He opened Solitude's gates for Ulfric after Ulfric killed High King Torygg in duel. Empire calls it treason. Rogvir calls it following Nordic tradition. Torygg accepted duel challenge. Ulfric won fairly according to Nord custom. As gate guard, Rogvir respected Ulfric's right to leave. His execution is political theatre, Empire punishing someone for following traditions they don't respect. His family in Solitude suffers stigma. His niece, Svari, struggles with other children taunting her about her traitor uncle. Rogvir wasn't rebel or murderer. He was man caught between two legal systems, old Nordic tradition and imperial law. He chose tradition and died for it. His execution isn't justice but warning. Support old ways, and empire will kill you. The game never lets you save him. You arrive as the axe falls. His death introduces you to Skyrim's conflict, showing stakes through personal tragedy. Rogvir represents countless casualties caught between cultures, people whose only crime was following values that suddenly became illegal. Lemkil's household hell. The cruel father in Rorikstead openly abuses his daughters Bright and Sissel. His dialogue is vicious, calling them worthless, ugly mistakes. The mother died, and he blames the children. They're terrified of him, sleeping in barn to avoid beatings. Other villagers know but don't intervene. Nordic culture values non-interference in family matters. If you kill Lemkil, children become orphans, but safer orphans. They're sent to honor hall or adopted by villagers. Either outcome is better than staying with their father. The game doesn't give you option to confront him or notify authorities. Your choices are ignore it or murder him. That limited morality is intentional. Sometimes situations have no good legal solutions. Sometimes violence is the only intervention available. Lemkil represents domestic abuse nobody stops because it happens behind closed doors. His daughters will carry trauma forever. Even if rescued, the damage is done. Years of being called worthless by the person who should love you most shapes identity irreparably. When you see them, you're witnessing cycles of abuse that continue because communities fail to protect vulnerable. Michelle Lilvive's vampirism. Struggle. The priest of Arkay in Riften is secretly vampire. He serves God of life-death cycle while being undead. The irony is intense. His dialogue reveals he hates what he is, maintains his humanity through willpower and faith. He feeds carefully, never killing, taking only enough to survive. He sees his condition as divine test. Can he serve Arkay despite being a front to everything Arkay represents? His struggle is theological horror. If Arkay is real and watching, does he condemn Michael or admire his dedication? Michelle doesn't know. He prays daily for cure that never comes. His vampirism is permanent. He'll serve Arkay forever as undead priest, epitome of contradiction. Other priests don't know his secret. If exposed, he'd be killed despite being threat to nobody. His self-control is remarkable. Surrounded by vulnerable people in temple, he never loses control. Letters in his chamber discuss his struggle. Philosophical writings about whether undead can achieve redemption. He's trying to be good despite being classified as evil by his own religion. His story is about faith tested by impossible circumstances, holding on to humanity when biology says you're a monster. Heimska's Talos obsession. The priest shouting Talos sermons in Whiterun is either madman or zealot. His fervent preaching is designed to annoy players, but there's tragedy in his story. He was respected scholar before the ban. When the White Gold Concorder outlawed Talos worship, Heimska couldn't accept it. His research concluded Talos was essential to theological stability. Banning worship would have metaphysical consequences beyond politics. He began preaching publicly, hoping to preserve the faith. Years of being ignored and mocked drove him to louder, more extreme proclamations. He's not crazy, he's desperate. His sermons are increasingly unhinged because polite arguments failed. If Imperials take Whiterun, he's arrested. If Battleborns dominate, he's persecuted. He knows he's losing. Every day he preaches, fewer people listen. His life's work is failing, Talos worship will die despite his efforts. He keeps shouting because silence would be admitting defeat. Heimska represents intellectuals who can't adapt to political reality, scholars whose expertise becomes liability when truth becomes treason. He'll die proclaiming Talos, and the world will remember him as that annoying street preacher, not the scholar warning about consequences nobody wanted to hear. Sibby Blackbriar's imprisonment. Maven's son sits in Riften jail. Not for crime, but because Maven wanted him there. Letters reveal he became liability to family business through impulsive violence and stupid decisions. Rather than kill him, Maven arranged arrest on false charges. It's indefinite detention disguised as justice. Sibby doesn't know his mother betrayed him. He thinks he was caught legitimately. His continued requests for family help go unanswered because Maven wants him contained. His girlfriend, Linley Star Sung, abandoned him, partially because Maven paid her to disappear. Everything in Sibby's life is controlled by family that's disowned him while maintaining appearances. If you help him by getting Linley back, you're interfering with Maven's plan. She'll be displeased. But Sibby deserves truth. He's criminal, yes, but he's also victim of family that treats members as assets to be deployed or stored as needed. His imprisonment is cleaner than murder, provides leverage if needed, and keeps Blackbriar reputation intact. When you meet him, you're talking to someone who'll never be free, not because of crimes, but because his mother decided he's more useful in cage than in world. The Galdor brothers' eternal conflict. The three brothers buried across Skyrim, Jirik, Mikrul, and Sigdis, murdered their father for his amulet, then were cursed by their mother. They were killed and buried separately to prevent their spirits from combining power. Centuries later, they're still hostile, still competing. Their ghosts don't rest because their greed transcends death. When you fight them, you're not just battling undead. You're interrupting family conflict that's lasted thousands of years. After you claim the amulet, their spirits finally dissipate. But did they find peace or oblivion? The curse their mother placed was meant to punish, not redeem. They might be experiencing perpetual torment even in death. Their story is cautionary tale about ambition destroying family. They were powerful mages who could have become legendary through cooperation. Instead, jealousy made them murder their father and curse their own bloodline. The amulet they killed for split into pieces, unusable until reunited. They died for nothing. Their betrayal accomplished nothing. Their afterlife is eternal reminder of waste. Three brothers who destroyed themselves and everyone around them for object none of them could use alone. Perfect tragic irony, repeated forever in their restless graves. Potema, the Wolf Queen's resurrection. The ancient Queen of Solitude was one of Skyrim's most evil rulers, necromancer who caused civil war and allied with Daedra. Her spirit has been bound in catacombs beneath the city for centuries. When cultists attempt resurrection, you must stop her. But here's the horror. She almost succeeds. She's been dead for ages, yet her will is strong enough to influence the living, whispering to cultists, promising power. When you confront her spirit, she's gleeful. Centuries of imprisonment haven't diminished her malice. She mocks you, threatens Skyrim with renewed tyranny. Potema isn't repentant or weak. She's ancient evil waiting patiently for opportunity. Even after you destroy her spirit, is she truly gone? Necromancers of her caliber often have contingencies, soul fragments hidden elsewhere. She might return again in another century, another millennium. Her legacy is terror that never ends. Solitude built over her tomb, trying to bury history, But evil that strong doesn't decompose. It waits, nurturing grudges, planning revenge. When you defeat her, you've bought Skyrim time, not safety. She'll return, or something worse will rise in her place, because power that corrupts absolutely never truly dies. The afflicted refugee's final choice. During Perite's quest, you meet Orchandor, High Priest, who embrace disease as divine gift. But among the afflicted, some are lucid enough to know they're damned. One refugee journal describes the transformation, watching your face decay, feeling mine slip away. They're aware they're becoming monsters. Some afflicted attack because they want death, seeking skilled fighter to end their suffering. Others flee civilization, trying to die alone rather than spread infection. Their camps contain farewell notes to families they'll never see again. These people made mistake worshipping Perite and are paying eternally. There's no cure, no redemption, just slow transformation into mindless plague vector. Some embrace it like Orchandor, finding meaning in corruption. Most just suffer, losing themselves piece by piece, unable to die, unable to live. When you kill them for quest completion, you're providing mercy. They're beyond help. The tragedy is scale. Hundreds of people destroyed by single moment of misplaced faith. Perite doesn't care. The Daedric Prince of Plague finds beauty in suffering, and his followers are art installations of decay, walking warnings about costs of divine devotion. The ghost of Helgi. The little girl who died in mortal fire appears as ghost, leading you to investigate her death. She's not malevolent, but confused. She doesn't understand she's dead. Ghosts in Skyrim often linger because of unfinished business, but children don't comprehend death the same way. Helgi is stuck because she's waiting for her father to come get her. She died calling for him, and that call echoes beyond death. When you solve her murder and destroy Alva, Helgi's spirit doesn't appear again. Did she find peace, or did she simply dissipate when her father's guilt was revealed? The game doesn't clarify. Child ghosts are among the saddest in Skyrim because their innocence prevents them from understanding their situation. They're not seeking revenge or justice. They're just lost, waiting for parents who can't come, playing in ghostly echo of life they'll never resume. When you help Helgi, you're not giving her life back. You're just resolving situations so her spirit stops recycling through the same confused moments. It's grim necessity, putting Child's ghost to rest by unmasking her killer, ensuring at least someone remembers how she died. Morvunska's cursed revelers. The mages at Morvunska were trapped by Sanguine during a party that went catastrophically wrong. They've been in magical stasis, partying for unknown duration, possibly years or centuries. They attack you not from hostility, but because they're compelled. Sanguine's magic won't let them stop celebrating. They're prisoners in eternal revelry, unable to sleep, eat, or leave. Some have been partying so long they've forgotten who they are. The spell maintains their bodies, but not their sanity. When you kill them, you're ending curse that Sanguine placed for his own amusement. Daedric princes don't have human morality. To Sanguine, this is funny. Mortals wanted to party, so now they party forever. The horror is the mage's perspective. They're aware, screaming internally while their bodies dance and drink and fight. Some might welcome death. Others are too far gone to care. The mage's research notes from before the party show. They knew better than to invoke Sanguine directly, but hubris overruled caution. They thought they could control Daedric magic. Now they're puppets in an endless joke, entertainment for a god of debauchery who'll move on to other amusements once you've slaughtered his playthings. Olaf One-Eye's Defiant Undeath. King Olaf's barrow contains his Draga, but he's unique. He didn't want to be buried with honors. He wanted his deeds forgotten. Why? Because fame enslaves you even after death. Olaf's legend bound his spirit to the barrow. He can't rest because people remember him. When bards sing his ballad, they're performing necromancy, forcing his consciousness to maintain cohesion. He's been dead for an age, yet the song won't let him sleep. When you enter his tomb for the Bard's College, you're disturbing someone who desperately wants oblivion. His hostility isn't territorial but anguish. Every time he's awakened, it's another cycle of conscious existence when he should be at peace. The quest has you burn his verse, ending the song. After that, does Olaf finally rest? The game suggests yes. Without the ballad binding him, his legend fades, releasing his spirit. But there's sadness in erasure. He was great king whose deeds deserve remembrance, yet remembrance is his curse. The choice between honoring heroes and letting them rest is explored through Olaf's story. Sometimes the kindest thing is forgetting, letting the dead be dead instead of preserved in amber of cultural memory. Angie's lonely archery training. High in the mountains south of Falkreath lives Angie, a master archer who offers free training. Her cabin is unmarked, easily missed. She teaches you valuable archery skills, but her story is tragic. Letters reveal she fled after killing 2 Imperial soldiers who murdered her family during the war. She's fugitive living in isolation, perfecting archery while hiding from justice. She doesn't trust easily. Only if you prove competent does she open up. Her training isn't kindness. It's loneliness driving her to interact with anyone skilled enough to find her. After you complete her training, she has nothing left to teach. You leave, and she returns to solitude. She'll spend the rest of her life in that cabin, practicing shots into targets that never fight back, remembering family she couldn't save, waiting for day Imperial soldiers track her down. Her existence is self-imposed exile, punishment for surviving when others died. She teaches you because it gives her brief purpose. But once you're gone, she's alone again with guilt and arrows that can't undo the past. Keeper Carsette's impossible survival. Keeper Carsette runs the Hall of the Vigilant before it's destroyed by vampires. Here's the problem. In games with Dawnguard enabled, the hall is destroyed at level 10, making her nearly impossible to meet. She exists in a window of a few levels, then vanishes. If you don't visit early, she's dead before you knew she existed. This makes her one of rarest NPCs. Her dialogue about hunting Daedric corruption and protecting the faithful becomes retroactive irony. She failed. Vampires destroyed everything she protected. If you meet her, you're talking to someone already doomed. Within days or weeks, she'll be killed defending a building that burns to ground. Her vigilants are slaughtered, her life's work erased. Meeting her after you know the hall's fate is haunting. She's confident, dedicated, preparing for threats she doesn't see coming. There's dramatic irony in every conversation. You know she'll die screaming, and there's nothing you can do. The hall's destruction is scripted, inevitable. Carsette's rarity makes her tragic. Most players never meet her. She dies off screen, nameless casualty in vampire attack that kickstarts Dawnguard questline. Footnote in tragedy, barely remembered. Wilhelm's secret crimes. The innkeeper in Ivarstead seems helpful, guiding you up the mountain. But examine closer. Rhaeda, Nafi's sister, might have been killed because she discovered Wilhelm's smuggling operation. He uses the inn as front for moving contraband through the mountain passes. When she stumbled onto it, he couldn't risk exposure. He killed her and made it look like accident. Nafi's subsequent breakdown was unexpected complication. The deranged man kept insisting on finding his sister, risking stumbling onto truth. Wilhelm may have paid for the Dark Brotherhood contract to silence him permanently. When you kill Nafi, you're completing Wilhelm's cleanup operation, eliminating the last person who might expose him. Wilhelm continues his business, respected inn owner, while two siblings rot in graves because they were inconvenient. The game never explicitly confirms this, leaving it as dark possibility. Wilhelm might be innocent, just an innkeeper, but circumstantial evidence suggests he's murderer who got away with it, using your blade to finish covering tracks, paying in gold earned from illegal operations built over bodies of people who trusted him. Ballermann's master craftsmanship. The blacksmith in Riften is one of Skyrim's finest craftsmen, but he's struggling financially. Why? Because he refuses to compromise quality. Every sword he forges is masterwork, requiring hours of work for price that barely covers costs. Competitors produce cheaper weapons faster. He can't compete economically. Letters suggest smiths from across Tamriel once commissioned him, but war disrupted trade routes. Now he's trapped in Riften, surrounded by Thieves' Guild corruption, trying to maintain standards in a city that values speed over quality. His Fire Salt's quest isn't desperation, it's pride. He won't use inferior materials even if it means financial ruin. When you help him, you're enabling someone to continue failing nobly rather than succeeding pragmatically. He'll never be wealthy. He'll die poor, buried in debt. But every weapon he made will outlast him. Perfect craftsmanship in a world that stopped valuing perfection. He represents artisans crushed by markets that reward mediocrity, people who refuse to compromise integrity even as it destroys them economically. His tragedy is living in an era where his skills are obsolete, where mass production beats masterwork every time. Aringoth's exploitation scheme. Golden Glow Estate's manager is Mercer Frey's plant, embezzling money while pretending to run legitimate business. He's not just corrupt, he's a sophisticated criminal who's layered his theft through complex accounting. Maven knows and doesn't care because Golden Glow pays protection. The workers are exploited, paid minimum, while Aringoth and Mercer siphon profits. When Thieves' Guild burns beehives, you're attacking business that's already rotten from inside. Aringoth's ledgers show years of systematic theft. He's enriched himself at expense of farmers who do actual work. If you kill him during the quest, you're removing one parasite, but system that enabled him remains. Another manager will take his place, continue the grift. If you spare him, he returns to exploitation. There's no justice possible. The quest highlights systemic corruption. Individual villains are replaceable. Structures that empower them are the real problem. Golden Glow will always be criminal operation because Maven owns it, Mercer protects it, and people like Aringoth administrate it. The workers will always be exploited. Your intervention changes nothing except which faces occupy corrupt positions. Lod's missing dog. The blacksmith in Falkreath asks you to find his dog. If you follow the quest, you discover the dog is astray near Hemar's shame. Bring it to Lod, and everything seems fine. But here's the twist. The dog is linked to Clavicus Vile quest. If you return it to Lod first, you've potentially condemned him. The dog might be Barbas in disguise, Clavicus Vile's companion, who eventually needs to return to his master. Or it might be ordinary dog that Barbas influences. Either way, Lod's attachment to the animal is being exploited by Daedric Prince for his own amusement. When Lod asks you to find his dog, he's lonely. The companionship means everything. If you return Barbas to Vile, you're taking that companionship away, possibly breaking Lod's heart. If you keep the dog for yourself, same result. Lod's simple request to find his dog is manipulated by forces beyond his comprehension. He's pawn in Daedric game, his happiness collateral in divine schemes. The quest seems straightforward. It's actually a tragic example of how gods use mortals for entertainment, not caring about damage they cause to ordinary lives. Krista's failed romance. The farmer near Rorikstead is hopelessly in love with Mara statue in nearby shrine. His dialogue reveals he's developed obsession with the goddess, treating it as relationship. He brings offerings, speaks to the stone as if it answers. Other NPCs avoid him because his behavior is disturbing. Krista's loneliness drove him to madness. He can't form relationships with real people, so he's constructed fantasy where divine statue reciprocates his feelings. It's heartbreaking mental illness. He needs help. But Skyrim's healthcare is non-existent. He'll live out his days talking to stone, growing old alone, believing Goddess of Love has chosen him specifically, while she remains silent rock carved by human hands. When you encounter him, you're witnessing someone broken by isolation. Rural farming life without family or friends fractured his mind. The statue gives him purpose, meaning someone to love who can't reject him, because she can't respond at all. Its saddest possible way to survive loneliness, constructing one-sided relationship with object because reciprocal human connection feels impossible. Skyrim is full of tragedy, but Krista's quiet madness hits differently because it's so mundane, so plausible, so utterly without remedy. Orchandor's embrace of corruption. Peryite's champion fully embraced disease as divine gift. While other afflicted suffer, he transcends, finding beauty in decay. His dialogue reveals twisted philosophy. Purity is illusion. Corruption is truth. Disease doesn't destroy, it transforms. He sees Peryite's plague as enlightenment, stripping away vanity and revealing reality's rotting core. When you fight him, he's gleeful. Every boil, every lesion is blessing. His face is unrecognizable, body warped, but his mind is clear. This isn't madness. It's faith so complete it redefines values. Pain becomes joy. Decay becomes growth. Death becomes transcendence. He's achieved something horrifying. Contentment through total corruption. Other afflicted are failures because they resist. Orchandor surrendered completely and found peace. His existence challenges player assumptions. If he's happy, is killing him murder or mercy? Does it matter if someone genuinely wants to be diseased? His philosophy is nauseating but internally consistent. If you accept his premise that Peryite's corruption is divine, then his joy makes sense. He's perfectly adapted to his hell, finding heaven in rot. When you kill him, you're imposing your values on someone who rejected them absolutely. Maybe he's grateful for death. Maybe he considers it interruption of spiritual journey. The game doesn't say. It just leaves his corpse festering. One fewer voice praising disease's beauty. Verulus's temple corruption. The priest of Arkay in Markarth is compromised by Namira's cult. He's not evil, just weak. When you investigate Hall of the Dead, he's already been marked for corruption. The cult sees his wavering faith, his doubts, and exploits them. By quest's end, if you side with Namira, Verulus becomes cannibal priest, serving goddess of decay while maintaining position in Arkay's temple. The irony is perfect. Priest dedicated to proper burial rites now consumes corpses he's meant to prepare. His fall from grace is complete. If you refuse to side with cult, they probably kill him eventually. His survival depends on your choices, but either outcome is grim. He either dies defending temple, becomes cannibal, or lives with knowledge he nearly fell. His faith is shattered regardless. When you meet him initially, he's scared. He knows something is wrong in the hall, but doesn't want to confront it. He'd rather ignore corruption than face it. That cowardice is his downfall. He's not strong enough to resist Namira's whispers. His story is about institutional religion failing when individuals lack conviction. Arce's temple means nothing if priest is hollow. Verulus represents clergy who go through motions without belief, vulnerable to any force that offers purpose they lack. Thona's blind loyalty, the man immortal whose wife is vampire. Thrall refuses to see truth. Even when evidence mounts, he defends Alva. When you investigate, he insists she's innocent. His loyalty isn't love, it's fear. Admitting his wife is vampire means admitting his entire life is lie. He chose her. He lived with her. He trusted her. Accepting truth destroys his identity. So he denies, rationalizes, attacks you for suggesting it. Only when faced with undeniable proof does he crack. And when he does, he doesn't become ally. He becomes broken. His grief isn't clean. It's complicated by shame. He should have known. Everyone else suspected. He was the fool who believed her lies. That humiliation eats him. If Alva dies, Thonia doesn't remarry, doesn't move on. He becomes ghost himself, haunting mortal. Reminder of what happens when trust is misplaced. His story is about how denial protects us from truths we can't handle, and what happens when reality forces us to face what we've been avoiding. Some truths destroy people. Thonia was destroyed not by vampire attack, but by realization that he'd been living with monster and never noticed. Banning's desperate measures. The miner in Sanurak mine is being crushed by debt. He borrowed from Silverbloods, and now they own him. His wages go directly to paying interest. He'll never clear principal. He's debt slave in everything but name. His family in another hole depends on money he sends. But he can't send anything. Every septim goes to Silverbloods. Letters show his wife is sick, children are hungry, and he's trapped in mine, breaking rocks to pay debts that only grow. When you meet him, he's desperate. Any suggestion of escape is crushed by reality. Where would he go? Silverbloods have reach everywhere. They'd find him, punish him, possibly hurt his family. So he mines, every day, forever, until rocks or sickness kill him. Then his debt transfers to his children, his perpetual servitude disguised as employment. The Silverbloods' business model depends on creating these situations, lending money they know can't be repaid, converting free laborers into permanent workers. Banning is one of thousands trapped in this system. When you walk through Markarth's mines, you're seeing economic slavery functioning perfectly, legally, backed by Jarl's authority, crushing spirits as efficiently as picks break stone. Dija's pirate betrayal. The Argonian at Dainty Slode seems like reasonable negotiator. She offers deal, invites you onto ship, then betrays you. The ship is ambush. Pirates attack the moment you board. Dija's entire role is luring victims. She's very good at it, using reasonable tone and logic to make you trust her. How many adventurers has she killed this way? The corpses below deck suggest dozens. She's not a pirate. She's bait. Her value to the crew is her ability to seem trustworthy, exploiting racial prejudice. People underestimate Argonian female, think she's vulnerable, She uses that. Her betrayal isn't personal, it's business. She's been doing this for years, perfecting her performance. When you kill her, you're eliminating skilled predator who made career of exploiting people's desire to avoid conflict. Every friendly word was calculated. Every reasonable gesture was manipulation. Her story represents bandits' evolution. They're not just ambushing travelers anymore. They're using psychology, social engineering, playing on expectations to get victims to volunteer into traps. Dija is what happens when criminal realizes violence is messy and expensive. Better to smile, shake hands, and stab them when their back is turned, saving arrows and reducing risk. Corpulus Vinius's drinking problem. The man working in Rorikstead is functionally alcoholic. His dialogue is always slightly slurred. He drinks to forget something. But what? Investigation reveals he was soldier during Great War, witnessed atrocities he can't process. He deserted, fled to Rorikstead, and has been drinking away memories ever since. His work suffers. His relationships are superficial. He's existing, not living, preserved in alcohol like specimen in jar. Other villagers tolerate him because he's harmless and does enough work to earn his keep. But he's slowly killing himself. Liver failing, mind deteriorating. When you talk to him, you're conversing with ghost. The person he was died in the war. The drunken shell remaining is animated by momentum and routine. He'll never recover. He doesn't want to. Sobriety means remembering, and remembering means reliving horrors his mind can't survive experiencing again. His drinking isn't vice but medication, self-prescribed treatment for trauma. Skyrim's healers can't address. His story represents thousands of soldiers destroyed not by combat, but by memory. Men who survived battles, but couldn't survive aftermath. Drowning in cups, because water can't wash away blood they imagine on their hands. Ranmir's destructive grief. The drunken Windhelm is on path to death. His lover Isabel disappeared, and he's drinking himself into oblivion trying to cope. Quest reveals she didn't leave him willingly. She was murdered, her body hidden. When you tell Ranmir the truth, he doesn't find closure. He finds new reason to drink. Knowing she's dead is worse than imagining she abandoned him. At least, abandonment implied she was alive somewhere. Death is final. His response is to accelerate self-destruction. He won't stop drinking. He'll die within months. Cirrhosis or accident. Joining Isabel in death, because he can't live with loss. His friends in Windhelm watch helplessly. They've tried interventions. Nothing works. Ranmir has chosen his ending. When you complete Quest, you've given him truth. But truth didn't help. Sometimes answers make things worse. Ranmir wanted to believe Isabel left for better life. Finding out she was murdered, her body dumped, her dreams ended violently. That knowledge is poison. You delivered it with good intentions, but intentions don't matter. Ranmir's increased. Drinking is on your conscience now. You solved mystery, but broke the survivor. Ondalima's zealous persecution. The Thalmor Justicia in Markarth is true believer. Unlike some Thalmor who are political operatives, Ondalima genuinely believes in Altmari supremacy and the righteousness of destroying Talos worship. He's not cynical, he's faithful. That makes him more dangerous. When he investigates Talos worshippers, it's not career advancement, it's holy mission. Every heretic he uncovers is victory for truth against ignorance. His dialogue reveals sophisticated rationalization. He doesn't hate Nords personally. He pities them. They worship false god, damaging their own souls. By stopping Talos worship, he's saving them from themselves. It's twisted compassion, violence justified by certainty. When you help him find evidence against Ogmund, you're enabling religious persecution. When you refuse, he pursues it anyway. Ondolama is immovable in conviction. He'll never doubt, never question. He's perfect example of how good people do evil things, not from malice, but from absolute certainty they're right. His faith blinds him to suffering he causes. Or maybe he sees it and considers it necessary sacrifice for greater good. Either way, he's terrifying because he can't be reasoned with. Logic and appeals to mercy bounce off faith-based certainty like arrows off steel. Malurul's failed ambition. The mage at Mzulft is trying to accomplish breakthrough when you kill him for Dark Brotherhood. His research was close to something significant, manipulation of light through Dwemer technology. If he'd succeeded, he might have developed new school of magic, but someone paid to have him assassinated. Why? Academic rivalry, probably. Another mage who couldn't match Malurul's genius decided murder was easier than innovation. When you kill him, you're erasing potential. His notes show months away from completion. His death means his research dies too. Nobody else can interpret it. The knowledge is lost. Years of work reduced to blood and ash. Malurul's story represents invisible cost of assassination. It's not just one life. It's everything that life would have created. Ideas unthought, discoveries unmade, students untaught. Every murder ripples through time, removing possibilities. The Brotherhood doesn't care. A contract is a contract. But when you read Malurul's journal afterward, describing excitement about his impending breakthrough, you realize you killed someone on verge of changing the world. The contract seemed routine. You just eliminated someone whose work might have revolutionized magic. That's the tragedy of professional killing. You never know who you're erasing from history. Malhulak's lonely vigil. The Orc chief at Largashbur is holding together a cursed stronghold through willpower alone. Malakath has abandoned them. Giants attack constantly. His people are dying. He knows he's failing as chief, but can't admit it without losing authority entirely. When you arrive to help, he's desperate but proud. He needs your aid, but resents needing it. His entire identity is strength, and here he is, unable to protect his people without outsider intervention. If quest is resolved by defeating Giant, he regains honor but knows truth. He couldn't do it alone. If you complete ritual and restore Malakath's favor, he's still diminished. His failure to maintain divine blessing marks him as inadequate. Either outcome wounds him. When you leave Largashbur, Malhulak returns to life knowing he nearly destroyed everything. His leadership will always be questioned. His confidence is shattered. He'll die eventually in combat, probably sooner than necessary, taking reckless risks to prove himself, overcompensating for that moment of weakness when he needed help. His story is about masculine pride making tragedy inevitable. Chiefs who'd rather die than appear vulnerable. Strength culture eating its own when members can't maintain impossible standards. Noster eagle-eyes search. The old man near Voltheim Towers is looking for helmets. It seems like innocent hobby. Deeper investigation reveals he's searching for his brother's helmet specifically. His brother died in the Great War, and Noster never recovered the body. He's convinced if he finds the right helmet, he'll know his brother's fate. He's been searching for years, asking every traveler, investigating every battlefield. It's grief manifesting as quest. The helmet won't bring his brother back. Noster knows this, but searching gives him purpose. If he stops, He has to accept his brother is gone, so he keeps looking wherever, examining every piece of ancient armor, hoping against logic that one will be familiar. When you bring him helmets, he's grateful but disappointed. It's never the right one. The right one doesn't exist. His brother probably died unmarked, buried in mass grave, helmet lost to time. Noster's search is metaphor for how we cope with unresolved grief, finding tasks to perform so we don't have to sit with loss. He'll die searching, never finding, but at least he died doing something, maintaining hope until the end, better than accepting the unacceptable. Atub's burden. The orc-wise woman at Largashba is carrying the stronghold's spiritual weight. She's the only one who understands Malakath's curse, the only one trying to fix it. Chief won't listen. Warriors mock her concerns. She's female in patriarchal culture, which means her wisdom is discounted. When you arrive, she's relieved. Finally, someone takes her seriously. Her quest to restore Malakath's favor is a desperate attempt to save people who've ignored her warnings for months. If she succeeds, she gets no credit. Chief claims victory. If she fails, she's blamed for inadequate magic. She can't win. When Ritual succeeds and Malakath returns, does he acknowledge her? No. He addresses the chief, as if Atub didn't orchestrate everything. Her reward is watching Stronghold survive, knowing she's saved it while remaining invisible. Her story represents women in cultures that value them primarily as support structure. She does crucial work while men claim glory. She knows more than the chief, but must pretend she doesn't to maintain social order. When you meet her, you're encountering someone whose competence is systematically undervalued, whose survival depends on appearing less capable than she is. Genius forced to hide her light so mediocre men aren't threatened by her brightness.